Hello, it's Jerry. Just want to take some time today to let you in on my postpartum story. So, prior to becoming pregnant, I did have a friend of mine who experienced postpartum pretty severely. So, while she was going through that, I did some research so I was more up to speed with what she was going through, had a better understanding because prior to that, I had really never ever heard about it. So that by no means makes me an expert, just letting you know that I was aware of it. So because of that, during my pregnancy, I was very much an advocate for, staying in tune with it, making sure my husband was aware of it, of signs, symptoms, warning signs, um, just in case. So we, had some level of preparation just in case. Um, I had dealt with anxiety issues in the past. Nothing too severe. I received some um, therapy, like talk therapy for it, and that's helped resolve those feelings that I was dealing with in my past. So around like 32, 33 weeks, I realized I was having some anxiety issues relating to my pregnancy. Specifically, I was concerned that I was going to make a small slip up and because of that harm my child, my baby. So I was very first time mom, nervous about being pregnant. So I eliminated lunch meat, hot dogs, alcohol, obviously, raw fish. I was very strict about the diet part. So I would have these dreams where I would, slip up and forget I was pregnant and chug a beer. And then mid chug, be like, what am I doing? I'm pregnant. I can't be drinking this beer. And now my child's going to have fetal alcohol syndrome. And, or forget I was pregnant, eat sushi. And now my child's going to have mercury poisoning. And so I realized those were becoming more frequent. And they were thoughts that I was realizing weren't normal thoughts. So I spoke to my husband about it, reached out to my doctor. We decided to start with talk therapy and see how I responded to that. So I saw a therapist once a week for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks. I can't remember exactly of my pregnancy. I can't remember what week it was I started, but I saw her all the way through to the end. And then because of that, in my mind, I was at a higher risk for postpartum. In my mind, because I was having, issues controlling my emotions during pregnancy, that sudden change in your hormones after pregnancy really had me concerned but enough that I wanted to try to head it off by starting the therapy early for the anxiety and really making sure my husband and I had read up on postpartum to watch me after a baby. By the time, so around 36 weeks, I kind of had a meltdown. It was my first checkup where they checked to see if I was dilated or effaced, and I was, and I freaked out. I was 1 centimeter dilated and like 50-60% effaced, and in my mind, 0% ready for baby, regardless of the fact that my due date was only a month away. So I was very thankful that I was seeing a therapist already because that was a topic we were able to tackle as well. I'm strong type A, and so we decided to, put a to-do list together because there were just things I didn't feel I had prepared or had ready to have the baby that early. So we got everything done and prepared in the next week, so that way if she came early, I was ready to go regardless. Up until that point, I was very much planning on or after due date. First time mom, that's pretty typical. So it was quite a surprise that I had any progress that early, 36 weeks, that early in my pregnancy. By the time baby came, which was 39.5, I was in a really good place. My therapist thought I was going to do really well. We had, talked about my anxieties and my fears of harming my daughter. Half the battle was realizing I was having the thoughts. And then, so now that I was able to recognize I was having these not normal thoughts about harming my baby, it was, okay, let's break that down. Is this a rational fear? Are you really going to forget you're pregnant? And if you did forget you were pregnant even for a minute, pregnancy brain, would the one piece of sushi that you ate be contaminated with enough mercury to harm your child. All these things had to happen. And so, yeah, that's pretty irrational. So now I know it's an irrational thought, and more importantly, is this thought healthy for me to have? Is this thought healthy for baby to have? And by breaking it down that way, to me, really helped me kind of let go of that. Okay, this is not a normal thought. This is an irrational thought, and it's not helping me or my baby. So because of that, I just need to let it go. And then that worked for me. And then getting prepared at 36 weeks, having those things in order, that worked for me. So fast forward to baby coming, we had meconium in our water when my water broke. So that meant that NICU was going to be in the room just to make sure they could clear out her airways and that she was good to go. So reduce the risk of infection from the meconium being in her system. And so in my mind, I had it played up. I was dead set on doing a natural delivery, which I was able to do. And my reasoning behind that was that I wanted that connection with my daughter. I wanted to feel all the pain with her. I wanted to feel all the pleasure with her once she was there. So I wanted that array of emotions. In my mind, that was how I was going to better bond and connect and have that moment with her as she was welcomed into the world. And that's not how it happened. I expected that I would hold her and cry and be so elated and just overwhelmed and overcome with emotion, and that's not how it happened. She came out, she was like purplish blue, she was upside down, the doctors were suctioning her like crazy, trying to get all that junk out of her system. She went to NICU in the room, but over to the team at the corner. They suctioned her some more, cleaned her up a little, checked her out, and then she came to me. And although that was a quick process, I was exhausted. I was in labor for 18 hours. Pushing a child out was excruciating, and there's no other word. Exhausting doesn't even begin. But so it's I remember the nurse asking, "Oh, do you want a picture?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about a picture. Yeah, please take our picture." And so we had the pictures, and then, there's 7-8 people in the room at that time, and then there was somebody in the room every 10 to 15 minutes after that. I was still being stitched up. That seemed like it took forever because I had torn a little. My husband had this ridiculous smile on his face of elatement, and I felt very almost like an out-of-body experience. I didn't feel in the moment. And so weeks following that, I realized I was feeling really guilty that I hadn't cried. I didn't cry when she was born. I didn't cry when she first cried. I didn't cry when I first held her, when she first latched. And I felt guilty about that. Why didn't I cry? You're supposed to cry. You're supposed to be so overwhelmed. You did this naturally. Why didn't I experience that? And so in my mind, I was doing something wrong. We had a lot of our family in town after she, very close to soon after she was born, within a couple hours. And they would make comments like, "Oh, let me wash my hands before I pick up the baby." And, oh, I guess I should ask for people to wash their hands before they hold my brand new baby. But it wasn't, I didn't seem as overly protective as I expected myself to be. Again, being a strong type A, I like to be in control of things. And so it was little things where I was picking up why am I not more concerned about people washing their hands? And, we went to the grocery store within the first week she was born. And why am I okay with taking her out within the first week? And all of those things are okay. People don't have to wash their hands to hold your baby. You don't have to keep yourself cooped up in your house for the first 6 weeks. There are benefits to it, and but it's not an end-all be-all. It's not a black and white line. And I realize that now, but at the time, I was, it just contributed to my self-doubt. I didn't cry. I'm not a good mom. Why would I not care about these things that are supposed to be important? I felt like I had missed this bonding experience with her, and I felt like I, just didn't care enough. And so a couple weeks into that, I finally decided to open up to my husband about it, and I remember kind of tiptoeing around it, really kind of throwing out questions that I wanted him to ask me to see how he responded. Like, oh, this, just, how does fatherhood feel? Is it different than what you expected? And then based on his response, like, he would give me like a little inch that made me feel like, oh, okay, maybe he's feeling the same as me. And I would respond. And this went back and forth till, I felt comfortable enough to share with him. Because a lot aside from feeling guilty about how I was feeling, like, I was really nervous that he was going to think I was ill-fitted to be a mom. So there was a lot of fear and anxiety around telling him. And I think all around I was afraid to open up because postpartum has such a stigma. You're a bad mom. You're not fit to be a mother. You're doing something wrong. You want to harm your baby. You want to harm yourself. You don't love them. And sorry, my daughter's screaming. We tried solids too early and her tummy is very upset. But husband's out there calming her. Anyway, so I think it's very important to share my experience so that people realize the spectrum of postpartum. It's not black and white. It's a wide umbrella that covers a lot of feelings post-baby. It can happen any time in the first year. You could go symptom-free and that month 10 have a meltdown, and that would be considered totally normal for postpartum. And there's no shame in having it happen. I think it's a lot more common than we are comfortable admitting or speaking up about. And as I said, talk therapy was what worked for me. Opening up to the people that were close to me ultimately helped me deal with and realize that I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. This is a normal thing. Like, not everybody experiences these, childbirth in the same way. It's okay that I didn't cry. It doesn't mean that I love her any less. Certainly doesn't mean I'm a bad mom. I've cried with her plenty since. So it's, that was a good first step for me. So I would, if I can advise anything, would be to find someone that you're comfortable opening up with. And if you honestly can't think of a single person in your life that you feel comfortable having that discussion with, email me, themamasquad@gmail.com. Allie, Alex, or I would be happy to talk to you about it. If you feel like you need resources in your area, I'd be happy to do research and help you connect with somebody that, locally, that would be a safe place for you too, because nobody should go through this alone. I think it's a great first step to deciding whether that's going to be enough or you need additional therapies or treatments. So thanks for sticking with me. That's my story. I'd be happy to go further in depth. If there's any questions you have, just drop them down below. Our slogan is there for a reason. Every mama really does need her squad, and I think this is a sensitive topic that needs to be vocalized a lot more because, the support system is really going to help you through the ups and downs of, being a mom. So thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.